What's up, Gear Mortals? Trey Xavier here. I want to kind of reframe how you think about scales and show you why they're kind of just one very small part of the equation. When I was younger, I thought that scales were everything, you know? Especially as a guitar player, you hear these dudes ripping up and down the neck, and you're like, how do I do that? And then you go to your guitar teacher and you say like, how do I do that? And they go like, all right, well, there's these things called scales, and you're like, scales, what's that? And then you learn all of them. Then you start to realize that you can't actually make music with scales exactly. I love scales, I really do. I have a whole course teaching people how to play every scale on the guitar. There's a link in the description where you can find out more information. But the fact is, if you don't know how to use them or you don't know what they're for, they're actually sort of an impediment rather than a tool. There's a missing piece, there's a missing element, and that's the thing that I'm kind of actually going to be talking to you about today, and that's something called vertical harmony. And it's sort of the counterpart to linear, melodic, scalar types of ideas. Harmony is actually vertical by its very nature. Vertical harmony is sort of redundant, actually, but I said it like that just to really illustrate the way that I think about it. It's the chord that's created by all of the instruments from the very lowest one to the very highest one, okay, the double bass all the way up to the piccolo. Everybody needs to be on the same page with the vertical harmony. So if you find yourself making this face during band practice, going like, or as you're writing a song, you know, the most likely culprit is that some part of the arrangement is ignoring the chord that's happening at the moment. You can't ignore the chord. I feel like more often than not, it's lead guitar players who tend to ignore this. As a people, we are just not very harmonically minded in a lot of ways. Speaking of guitars, the guitar that I'm playing today is this brand new DST 200 guitar from Donner. It's a super sick guitar for not that much money. Donner was very kind to sponsor this video for me today. Check out the link in the description to find out more about this guitar and the sale that they've got going on right now. Harmony means that it's notes that are happening at the same time that are stacked up on top of each other, whereas scales are melodic, they're the horizontal version. The main issue that you're going to run into in terms of thinking of music horizontally is that scales will betray you. Sometimes you're gonna hit a note that is in the scale that you think is the right one, and it's not gonna sound good. And that's gonna change throughout the course of a song. Even if every single chord in a song comes from the same key, some of the notes in the scale that are in the key that you're in aren't gonna work over certain chords. I'm gonna demonstrate that for you real quick. We're gonna take an incredibly simple chord progression, okay? Two chords, C and G. Not gonna get much simpler than that. Both of those chords, C and G, are diatonic to the key of C, which just means that all of the notes that are in both of those chords, right? C is just C, E, and G, and then G is G, B, and D. All of those notes exist within the C major scale, which is... all those notes are in there. So you would think that all of those notes would work perfectly, but watch what happens. All I'm gonna do right now is play notes out of the C major scale on top of those two chords. It should work, right? Because C major is the right scale. It's got the right notes in it. So let's see how it works though. Oh, I hate it. There's these little landmines within the scale, but they're not there all the time. The landmine note within the scale is moving. How is that possible? Well, obviously the note didn't change. The chord that we're playing it over changed. We're playing a note relative to the chord that doesn't work anymore. Just because it's in the right scale is no guarantee of any kind. So that's why when I'm writing, when I'm improvising, when I'm playing, I'm thinking about the vertical harmony all the time. Every single note that you're hearing at a given moment all sort of adds up, almost as if the whole band is one great big instrument. And this includes melody instruments. If you're playing lead guitar, if you're playing saxophone that can't play chords, it's still part of the chord. And so you're going, but the F came from the C scale. Why isn't it working? I'm playing F. So in this example, the notes that I was playing on top of those chords that didn't work, each time it was a fourth interval above the root, above C. And that clashes really badly. Oh, it's dreadful. And then I did the same thing on a G, but a fourth above G is a C. So a C that would have worked great on top of a C chord does not work on a G. That sucks and I hate it. But now if I sing that note on the G and I go back to C, all of a sudden it's magic. This note that I hate it, now it works. What the hell? The note didn't change, the context for the note changed, and it works on one chord and not on the other. That's the basic essence of this vertical harmony idea. A right note at the wrong time can become a wrong note. So now you're thinking like, why did I spend all this time learning all these scales? Trey, I bought your scales course, and now they're just gonna betray me? Don't worry, you have not wasted all of your time by learning those scales. They're still very important. So your primary takeaway here is that no matter what instrument you're composing for or improvising on, at any given moment in a song, you should be mostly concerned with what the chord is that it's playing with, on top of, or underneath, or whatever, and what the chord tones are of that chord. Chord tones are just the notes that exist within a given chord. For example, in C major, we have C, E, and G. If you know a C major chord on the guitar, you might play it like that, or maybe like this. And you're like, Trey, that's 6 notes. I'm playing 6 notes. But they're all C, E, and G, just in different octaves. Here's a G, C, E, G, C, E. So we're thinking about what is the root. That's definitely the most important one, okay? It's the name of the chord, C, F, G sharp, whatever. And then the third, which makes it major or minor. C minor, we take that third and it's flat, C, E flat, G. That's very important. And then the fifth. You definitely do not need to know all the names of the notes in the chord in order to do this correctly. Pretty unlikely that you're going to just play chord tones. That's incredibly boring to listen to and no fun to play. You basically wind up with like arpeggio music and nothing else. It's like reasonably pleasant to listen to, but it's just musical mayonnaise. Where a scale comes in handy is connecting those chord tones and giving them a bit more context. So rather than just arpeggiating up and down our C major, we can add the in-between notes of the scale, still targeting those chord tones and creating something that has a lot more life to it, but isn't just horizontal or just vertical, okay? A melody is by its very nature horizontal, and that's fine, but if it doesn't take into account the vertical, it's probably not going to be a very good melody. I really like thinking about it like this because it's like we've got the scales and the chords and they're teaming up. They're joining forces to create something awesome that they couldn't do by themselves, but as long as we're making them work together in the right way, we're gonna create some really beautiful music. Apparently in the shape of a sphere for some reason, I don't know. Chord tones are great, but they are very, very safe sounding. You probably are gonna wanna use spicier notes as well. I just want you to be thinking in terms of safe, spicy, and then these landmines, okay? The landmine is like the awful version of spicy, and then The awful version of safe is mayonnaise. Like you're playing a C chord, and you're playing a C as your melody note. That's mayonnaise. Like it doesn't hurt anybody, but it doesn't really sound cool. Whereas a B on top of a C major is a bit spicy. It's a 7th. That sounds great. An F is a landmine. Flip side of safe is mayonnaise. Spicy, flip side of spicy is landmine. Safe, mayonnaise, spicy, landmine. Safe, mayonnaise, spicy, landmine. Safe, mayonnaise, spicy, landmine. Safe, mayonnaise, spicy, landmine. This is how you need to be thinking about it no matter what instrument you play or what instrument you're writing for at the moment, all right? I think about this when I'm writing bass lines, when I'm writing guitar solos, when I'm writing rhythm guitar parts, even complicated riffy stuff, when I'm writing keyboard parts, when I'm doing orchestration. It's incredibly important. Not drums, you're off the hook. This is something that I talk about in great detail in my new songwriting course, which is called Complete Rock and Metal Songwriting, which is out now. There's a link in the description where you can find out more about that. Huge thanks to Donner for sponsoring this video with their brand new DST 200 guitar. It's super sick for around $200, but you can get it for even less because they're running a sale right now. Link in the description to find out more about that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Be sure to check out my songwriting course if you haven't already, and I'll see you real soon.